So thank you all for joining us tonight and good evening. On behalf of the Offices of Admission and Financial Aid at Elizabethtown College, we thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Gretchen Camp, Senior Director of Admissions and Operations at Etown College, and I'm joined tonight by my colleagues, Carrie Straub, VP for Marketing, Communications, and External Relations, and Lindsay Barton, Financial Aid Counselor. We're here tonight to review the FAFSA filing process, including the anticipated changes to the 2024-2025 FAFSA. There's been a lot of buzz surrounding this year's FAFSA as the federal government has worked hard throughout the year to make these updates, ultimately coining the term FAFSA simplification, which many of you have probably heard by now. After hearing more from Lindsay about what to expect from the FAFSA filing process, we hope that what can seem like a daunting process will feel more achievable. Please know that we are committed to offering you and your student the best possible service, value, and affordability that we possibly can. We will be here to help you throughout the process. To admitted and prospective students and parents here tonight, our hope is that you will walk away from this presentation feeling confident in your ability to complete the 2024 to 2025 FAFSA when it becomes available next month. And to school counselors who may be joining us tonight, we hope that this information will provide valuable as you advise your students and their families throughout the college application process. We have about an hour together tonight and have set aside time for questions at the end of the presentation. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, you're welcome to use the Q&A feature. Again, we will address these at the end of the presentation, setting aside some special time for that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay Barton from our financial aid team. Thanks, Lindsay.
Folks, so nice of you to join us tonight for this webinar. So I'll just go over what the FAFSA actually is once my slide goes head through. And it is essentially the free application for federal student aid. So what this means is that when you apply for this application, it is essentially allowing the schools that you are applying to receive your financial information so that they can make a determination on not only your federal student aid, but also state aid and institutional aid if that school offers it. Some other need-based aid that may be involved are scholarships, notably from outside organizations that may be available at your high school to apply for, and also private financial aid provider scholarships. For FAFSA simplification, it is essentially an overview of trying to make the FAFSA much more simple to complete. For FAFSA simplification, it is trying to make it less time-consuming and easier to complete by reducing the number of questions on the FAFSA and by allowing a direct transfer of information from the IRS. In addition, rather than be available October 1st, it is available in December of this upcoming year for the 2024-2025 FAFSA. Once it is available, I would highly recommend completing it as soon as you're able to, and making sure to include any and all schools on there that you wish to receive your FAFSA information. There should be, in addition, as I said, a streamlined application process, and a part of that process is inviting contributors to the FAFSA, notably your parents, adoptive parents, and step-parents to assist in completing the FAFSA. To do this, you'll go ahead and invite them as a contributor on studentaid.gov, and you will need a few items for that, most notably their social security number, name, and email address. For the FAFSA, we will go ahead and review here at Etown each student's individual FAFSA to determine their eligibility for need-based aid, institutional aid, and also for federal and state aid. What you see on the screen is a few examples of some financial aid offers families have gotten in the 23-24 award year, and their estimates of such for the 23-24 award year only. Additional questions as to how FAFSA simplification may affect you can be directed to the financial aid office. In addition, if you're looking at schools much more early than when the FAFSA will be available, I would highly recommend looking at each school's net price calculator. It is required by law. Each school must have one for the federal government, and it can help you decide in a much quicker manner to see what aid might look like and what your bottom line might be estimated at for that particular school. For the FAFSA, when filling it out, there are quite a few things I would recommend having close by and with you to make it just easier to complete the process. So first and foremost, when actually completing the FAFSA, you will need something known as an FSA ID. It's essentially your login information on studentaid.gov. And to create that, you will need a couple identification items, namely your social security number, your date of birth, an email address, and some additional information regarding an alien registration number if you're not a United States citizen. As far as your contributors, as I said, you would go ahead and invite them to the FAFSA. Notably, it does take 3 days for your FSA ID to be created and put into the system. And then after that point, you can then go ahead and invite those contributors, and they'll accept the invitation and then be able to edit your FAFSA. You are able to start and stop the application. Just know that it must be done within 45 days of beginning the application, or you may need to start over again and start a new FAFSA after that 45-day mark. Part of the notable change as well with FAFSA simplification is something called the FADDX. And it allows for a direct transfer of information directly from the IRS to the FAFSA. Each and every contributor must provide consent, even if you did not file taxes. If you do not give consent for your tax information to be transferred, the FAFSA will be considered incomplete, and no SAI will be given for that particular FAFSA until consent is provided. Some additional items you should have as well are records of untaxed income and cash savings and checking, investments, and assets. Those may not be moved directly over from the FADDX, so it's always good to have those on hand just in case you have to fill them in on your own. Additionally, another change from the prior year's FAFSA is you are now able to add 20 schools to the FAFSA compared to 10 schools in the prior year. So you have more flexibility in adding schools to the FAFSA and not having to go back and change them as much. In addition, the Pennsylvania State Grant, for those folks who are in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania State Grant website program are going through some updates. So combined with the FAFSA simplification and the Pennsylvania State Grant system going through updates, there may no longer be a direct link between the two to go from the FAFSA to the Pennsylvania State Grant application. I would highly, highly recommend creating an account on pheaa.org so you can go ahead and ensure you're not missing out on free funds. The Pennsylvania State Grant deadline is May 1st. So as I've said, please make sure to go ahead and file your FAFSA as soon as you're able to, just to make sure you're able to complete the Pennsylvania State application in a timely manner. A few ways you're able to file the FAFSA. Notably, the easiest is online on studentaid.gov, but if you are unable to do it online, you are able to access it by mail. You can print out the FAFSA form and send it in. However, I will say it does take quite a while, so I would highly, highly recommend trying to do it online rather than trying to print it out and mail it in. Should you need assistance, myself and all my colleagues in the financial aid office are available to assist, as well as a high school counselor and the FSA help. And you can also email studentaid.gov or call just to give you alternative options should there not be a question, that the financial aid office or your high school counselor are able to answer. Specifically, more like your FSA ID not being able to work and things of that nature. After you file the FAFSA, you'll receive what's called a FAFSA submission summary. And this is a large overview of everything that you put on the FAFSA, and you are able to review it to see if there's anything you might need to make updates to. Any colleges listed by the student, up to 20, will receive a copy of the FAFSA, and as long as you have been accepted by that school, the Office of Financial Aid will go ahead and determine your eligibility for aid. If there's any issues with your FAFSA or there's missing information, the school will reach out to you, most notably through email. That's our primary means of communication. So please make sure you're checking those if you have some schools trying to contact you. And we will ensure that you are able to update your FAFSA and give you all the information you may need to do so. Once that is done and you have a complete financial aid offer, the financial aid office will go ahead and mail out your offer. It's a giant white envelope, and it will have your aid, the cost of attendance, and then your bottom line. And the financial aid office is always available to go ahead and answer questions regarding that and kind of give you an overview as to what your aid means and what it all is. As far as some of the aid you may see, most notably, the best kind is gift aid. Those funds you do not have to repay back. And a few items included under that category is the federal Pell Grant, the federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, the Pennsylvania State Grant, and any other institutional grants and scholarships Etown or another school may provide. What is considered self-help aid are typically federal student loans, unsubsidized and subsidized, federal work study, and then private student loans. Additional outside assistance or other sources of financial assistance include outside scholarships, as I've said, from your high school or perhaps the club or organization your family's a part of, and then of course the federal Parent Plus loan that comes from the federal government. For federal loan funding, typically there are two different types. One is the federal subsidized loan that is based on financial need, and then the federal unsubsidized loan that is not need-based. They are both borrowed by the student. So once you file the FAFSA, you are automatically considered for this funding. There's no separate application for it. There's nothing additional that a student would need to fill out to be eligible for these funds other than the FAFSA. There is a fixed interest rate. For the 23-24 award year, the interest rate is 5.50%. I would say at least that for the upcoming year. And then there is an origination fee on all federal funding for loans, and that is 1.057%. There is an annual borrowing limit, but that does increase as a student progresses through school. And then there is an aggregate loan limit that a student's capped at unless they're an independent student or a grad student. For private student funding, typically the student's the borrower, but a credit-worthy cosigner may be best so that you're able to get a better interest rate. Interest rates can be both variable and fixed for the lifetime of the loan and can vary by the lender. Negotiate better rates if you're able to. See if you can find a private loan from your local bank, local credit union, or if you're struggling on finding additional options, make sure to reach out to your financial aid office. Etown particularly can't recommend a particular lender, but we can help determine whether or not a lender could be legitimate or not. For the federal Parent Plus loan, this plus loan is borrowed by the parent only. Liability can never be transferred to the name of the student. You can borrow up to the cost of attendance, and you must be creditworthy and meet some additional general eligibility requirements. The interest rate for this loan is typically a little bit higher, as is the origination fee. While your student's in school, payment can be deferred until after they graduate. And then if a parent's denied, students are still eligible for additional funding in terms of federal unsubsidized loan. As a freshman and sophomore, it's $4,000, and as a junior and senior, it's $5,000. Other sources of financial assistance also include any 529 savings plans, a payment plan, any veterans benefits that you may be eligible for. If you're an employee of an institution, there may be tuition assistance or tuition benefits you may receive, and then the UGMA and UTMA accounts for minors as well. If you have a circumstance that is kind of a little bit unusual, please make sure to reach out to the financial aid office. For example, if you have tuition payments for K through 12 students that you're paying for your other children while your firstborn or secondborn is attending school, reach out to the financial aid office and see if there's anything we are able to do in regards to that. An additional item that could be considered for professional judgment is a decrease in income, a loss of a job, or a wage reduction, as well as any additional information of that nature that could be relevant. To file a professional judgment appeal, we will ask for additional documents to help clear up your circumstances and provide some more information in regards to those circumstances. The financial aid timeline for Etown consists from August to November. We recommend completing an FSA ID and applying for it, and also looking for outside scholarships. From December to April, we recommend filing the FAFSA. Once that is completed and you've been accepted to Etown, you'll receive a financial aid offer, and you have the opportunity to meet with the financial aid counselor, not only over the phone, but also via Zoom or in person. We also recommend trying to apply for outside scholarships during this time as well. In May, you have the option to deposit, and we also ask that you accept or decline any financial aid awards that you had been offered. In June, the fall invoice will be available, typically June 1st, and you're then able to apply for any kind of payment plan, Parent Plus loan, or private loan that you may be considering. In July to August, there is something called verification that the federal government does select families for. If you are selected, we'll reach out and we ask that you provide those documents before beginning school at Etown. An additional item to consider is also just making plans for out-of-pocket expenses that may not be covered by those additional funding sources. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to my colleague, Gretchen, and she'll review the steps to the application process at Etown.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. So for those in the room who have already applied and been admitted, this wouldn't necessarily all apply to you. However, I do know that there may be some prospective students in the room who have started their application and not submitted, or who are thinking about it, or again, school counselors advising students. So I just wanted to take a minute just to go over this. A few important things to know about Etown and our application process is that we operate on rolling admissions, meaning that we are really flexible when it comes to submitting an application to Etown. We have two programs, our physician assistant accelerated 5-year program and our occupational therapy program that do have deadlines. PA is December 1st and OT is January 15th, but otherwise we are very flexible with that application deadline. We are a member of the Common Application, and we also have our own Etown application to offer, so students can choose whatever one works best for you, whatever is most convenient. In order to be considered a complete application, first you would of course submit the application with our required materials, which include your high school transcript sent to us from your high school, at least one letter of recommendation from a teacher or your guidance counselor, and within the application itself there is a writing portion where you can submit pieces of work or an essay to us. We only require SAT or ACT scores if you're applying to that 5-year BSMS physician assistant program. Otherwise, we're completely test optional when it comes to SAT, ACTs. Acceptance decisions are made on a rolling basis, so constantly reviewing applications. You'll hear from us within about 2 to 3 weeks. And you'll see at the bottom there under step 3, it mentions deciding. So for those who are in the room tonight who have already been admitted and have not committed to Etown yet, you do have until May 1st to make your decision. Between the time a student applies and May 1st, we offer a lot of opportunities to reach out to us and ask questions, to attend different events like open houses and accepted student days, to personalize weekday visits, overnight and classroom visits. Lots of opportunities to check out what it's like to be a Blue Jay and learn more about Etown. And then after May 1st is when all the fun begins with orientation, housing placement if you're living on campus, and scheduling of your classes. So again, you're welcome to reach out to us. I'll make sure to drop a link in the chat about so you can learn more about applying to Etown. So, thank you.